All right, and we are off. Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Shanman, and I will be your instructor for the next 8 weeks. I think there was a little bit of confusion for some people whether this was an A or a B, or just a B or just an A class, but this is a summer A-B class, so we have 8 full weeks together. If that's going to be a problem for anybody, shoot me an email afterwards, but I think we're all set at this point. If I remember correctly, not if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure, all of you are in the Nichols Online Birth to 5 education program, right? With Dr. Tiffany Papa and Dr. Elizabeth Bluck, correct? Yep, all right, awesome. This is the third semester, or third summer, I believe, that I've taught this class for Dr. Papa. I am not in the Birth to 5 cadre of teachers, as you guys very much know. My background is in elementary education and special education. I've done quite a bit with research over the years, so I'm very comfortable with this content. But one of the things that I actually really love about teaching this course with you guys is the research ideas that I hear of from this group in particular are very different than the research ideas that I am typically thinking of and working with. So I always look forward to this in terms of expansion of ideas and just different ways of looking at things. So I'm looking forward to this. I hope you're looking forward to this, and it should be a good semester. Right off the bat, I want to clarify that this is not a class this is not a statistics class. And number two, this is not a class on putting together a capstone research project. This class is about the research process. This is very much focused on procedure, conducting a literature review, what you want to be looking at and considering as you're putting research together, all right? One can't dive into research, into statistics, into the analysis component of a research class without having a really solid understanding of why it is that we conduct research. How do we think about research problems? Where does it come from? Where should it lead us? So on and so forth. So this class, over the final product over this class is actually going to be a literature review and a method section for a hypothetical research project. Whether or not that is a project that you conduct in the future, that is up to you guys. It's always my goal to set you guys up into a position where that is something that you will be able to do. But we are going to spend a lot of time reading and thinking about the setup and thought process behind research and what goes into that. All right, sound good? Cool. Structurally, this class, so any research class goes fast. In a regular semester, in an online class, an 8-week class, it's lightning fast. So what I have done in the past is I've set this up. It's very much a self-paced class in that you can move a little bit ahead. If you get a little bit behind, that's okay. But I've set it up so that the class or the weeks are broken into like an A and a B section. We're only going to meet once a week, but trying to help pace you guys, do the activities in the A section Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Do the activities in the B section in the second half of the week, and really try and manage yourselves. The modules of the class are really week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, so on and so forth. So if you get behind on an A section and you want to jump to a B, that's totally fine. I'm not penalizing anyone. I'm not I'm not so structured with that. But that A and that B is really to help you keep pace over the course of the summer. okay? Our text for this semester is the Cresswell and Guterman text. If they've come out with a different edition that looks a little bit different, that's fine. This one's fine too. But do get it. We will be working through that, particularly parts 1 and part 2. Part 3 of the text is all about designs and statistics and how the group design component works in educational research. And those are, I will be talking about those towards the end of the semester. But I kind of leave that a little bit to your own devices to pick the areas that most interest you based on the type of research that you've outlined ahead of time, okay? So we will be working through the first, I think it's 9 chapters of this book in 8 weeks. So it's fast. Try not to get behind. Really, really, really try not to get behind. And we'll be in good shape. Okay. Cool. I would like to go around a little bit and get to know you guys, because you know where you are, what type of placement you're in, and maybe what your experience is with research, because the more I can tailor what I talk about to your experiences, I think the easier it's going to be for you guys to connect to what we're talking about. So I'll call names in an order that makes sense to me in my Zoom. But if you can tell me kind of where you are within your program, so whether you're just starting, towards the end, whatever that may be, where you're teaching, if you're teaching, and what your experience is with research. Okay? All right, Kimberly, you're first up on my screen. Sorry.
Okay. I'm actually just starting out. This is my first actual classes. The 3 summer classes are my first classes. And actually, I haven't been in school in 30 years. So this is really
Welcome back.
so,
It's quite a dive into a first class.
So, and I teach at Labbyville Primary School. I teach special needs kids,
Okay.
pre-K.
Okay.
And I've also been doing inclusion with kindergarten.
Wonderful. Awesome. That's definitely very close to my ballpark. So I'm excited to hear that. Excellent. And welcome. Lauren, you're next.
I also am just starting the program. This is my first class, I can't speak, I'm sorry. This is my first semester of graduate school. Very excited. I did have a research class in undergrad. I graduated in 2019. I believe I took the class the semester before student teaching with now Dr. Perry. And this, I'm going on my 3rd year teaching, or I guess 2.5 if you count not being in classroom. Right. I taught 1st grade at Thibodeau Elementary, and then I moved to Mississippi this past year. So I taught 2nd grade at Lumberton Elementary, and I will move to kindergarten this next year.
All right, excellent. I was a 2nd grade inclusion teacher when I was in the classroom, so that's like right in my alley. Awesome. I'm excited to hear that. Excellent. Brittany, you're up next.
I actually just graduated Nichols in May. Right. So I'm continuing, I'm going back to back, and I will have my 1st year of teaching next August.
Okay. And where are you going to be teaching?
South Baton Rouge Charter Academy.
Okay. And do you know what grade? Kindergarten?
1st grade.
1st grade?
All subjects.
Awesome. All right. Well, that'll be fun. Kids are going to be excited to get back and doing things normally. I would think so. They'll have some energy, I would think. All right, iPhone, you're next.
Okay, I'm guessing that's me.
Yep, that's you.
My name is Megan Abear. This is my first semester of grad school. I've been teaching for 13 years. I've taught pre-K for 9 years, mostly regular ed and also inclusion special ed. And I taught pre-K, first grade for 4 years, and I'm moving back into first grade. Research, I have no background in research.
Awesome. All right. No, that's good. That's good. Sherry.
Hi, everybody. This is actually my second semester, so I've taken 5 classes so far. My background is in early childhood. I taught pre-K for 5 years, kindergarten for 1, and first grade for 1 year. Right now, I'm actually an early childhood coach, so I don't have my own classroom. I mentor teachers. I specifically do Head Start and pre-K teachers in our parish. And I have 6 teachers that I work with consistently, and they are on 5 different campuses. And I'm actually teaching summer school this year to help out. So I teach pre-K summer school, and that is like a half-a-day program, 4 days a week. And Miss Kimberly is actually in the program with me, and she's going to be servicing the children in my classroom. So
Awesome.
According to like the research question, I've done many research papers, but I haven't really, I guess, take the time to reflect about the process and what type of research I'm actually doing.
Awesome.
So interested to learn a little bit more about all of that.
Good. Good, good, good. All right. And last but not least, Claire.
Hi, sorry, my kids are sleeping, so that's why the lights are on. But I teach at Oakshire Elementary. It's my second year doing special ed pre-K, and I graduated from Nichols in 2019 with my undergrad, and I started back in grad school in January. So I've taken 5 classes as well. And then same kind of thing that Jerry said, like I have experience doing research papers, but not so much thinking about the process of it all.
Good, 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 good. I like where we are. It sounds like everyone is, no one's gone through the whole process from start to finish. And it sounds like you guys will all have a really open mind to the research process. And what I'm hoping to impart to you guys, and I feel very passionately about this, but it's always a bit of a challenge to get this, especially to master's students who are working in education fields, is the important applied applications of research. I know a lot of people tend to think of like, I teach, other people do research, and then there's just lots of numbers, and those numbers don't mean anything to me in terms of me teaching this kid math. And what I hope to show you is why that's not true, why there very much is significant application to research in applied settings, both in terms of informing and what you can do from a philosophical standpoint as a teacher to use the research process to impact your teaching. So that's really what I think of, and that's another reason why I stay away in this class from the stats models and all those things, because those are not things that are going to be applicable to you as teachers. If you're going to be a researcher and you're going to be looking at large group studies, then someone else who's a lot smarter than me is going to teach you how to do an ANOVA or a chi-mean square test or any of those things. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to understand the research process, understand why it is what it is, understand its significance, and understand how it's going to impact you in your guys' lives. All right? Cool. I want to how do I want to start this off? All right, let's open this up with a little bit of a conversation, diving into that question a little bit more of why we have research. What is the purpose of it? Limited to education, opening it up to other fields, kind of on a global level. Why do we have research? What is the point of it? Who wants to take a stab?
I'll go if no one judges me.
No one, judgment-free zone here.
I think to find, almost like to develop theories of common behaviors, or, if specific groups or things always lead to the same result. And then if it's a bad result, to counteract those things. And if it's a good result, to implement those types of things.
Excellent. Okay, cool. I'm going to, as each person shares a little bit, I'm going to key in on some specific keywords that I think that you guys say. So one of the things that you said that I really liked was the same result, right? That this idea of what we call replication is something that's going to be really, really at the forefront of the research process. So very good. Awesome. Someone else, be brave. I like discussion.
I mean, I guess another thing could be like, we're not just implementing things for the sake of implementing it. Like, they have stuff behind it that proves like why it may be better than other ways.
Awesome. There is a saying, idiom, whatever you want to call it, that I have a lot of problem with in education, and that is the art of teaching. Teaching is not an art. Teaching is a science. Implementing that science is an art. I had a friend that he thought of the title of the book, which was great. He didn't actually write the book, but The Art of the Science of Teaching. And I loved that title. I loved that concept. Education, if anything in this world should be done systematically, it should be education. Now, every child is different, and every teacher is different, and every school is different. So the challenge becomes finding the right science for the right child, for the right teacher, for the right environment. But it has to be done systematically. We don't have enough time as educators to just pull things out of the air. We have to choose things that we know and have shown to be effective for all of our children. Now, how we go about doing those things in systematic ways, that's your art. That's where your techniques, that's where the things that you've seen before really come into play. But there's got to be a reason behind it. Excellent, Claire. I really like that. Very nice. What else?
I suppose why people do research, and I apologize if it's hard to understand me. I had oral surgery on my
You're
mouth.
fine.
A little bit, trying to learn how to talk again.
I appreciate you volunteering yourself.
I think you do research because as a teacher, you want to do the best for your students. So if I would find a new behavior management technique, I would want to research it first to see, like, why do you do this? Why should I do your idea? Like when they started doing whole brain in classes, I was like, I've never heard of this. Why would I even do whole brain? I had to actually see it in class and see, oh my God, it's useful. So while you do research to become a better teacher and to just try to be the best for your students.
So the couple of things, one, to be a better teacher and using that evidence base to become a better teacher, I think is so important. But I love the why. The why is so important, right? As a teacher, you should be asking these questions. We are all very intelligent people here. We are in the field. We are very intelligent people. We should not need to rely on what we call a method of authority to accept things. We don't just take what our principals say. We don't just take what the superintendent says. We have to ask, why are we doing this? Where is the evidence? Show me that what I was doing is worse than what I'm about to do, and why. And the research, the evidence that we get from research is that why. That needs to be where it comes from. Good. Anything else? These are great. These are awesome.
I was thinking when you were just saying that, just this morning, Sherry and I were coming up with things we were going to do with the kids over the summer. And we were thinking about, I was like, look, we always do the same thing, so we know what works and what conclusion we're trying to get to. So we just need to use the same things that we've been doing.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Awesome. No. And you know, research, one of the things that is really beautiful about the research process is it allows for that concept to be reinforced, right? I'll go back to what Cherie said with replication. We are always replicating things that have already been done. And part of the reason that we do that in research is to make sure they still work so that people can, with confidence, go out and continue to use them, right? As long as I continue teaching from home, you'll eventually see I have a lot of little furry creatures running around here. And they go inside, they go outside, they get fleas, right? Well, I learned in the past couple of years that flea medication loses its potency within like the entire population, right? Research shows that this medication works for a while, and then as the population, the flea population changes, it stops working. Kids can be, not are, but can be the same thing. The environment that our children are in, that we raise our kids in, changes. It makes no sense to assume that the child that I have today is going to be the exact same as the child that I had 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, right? So the procedures that we use, given the educational environment, may be more or less effective than what they were when original research was completed. All right, so ensuring that current practices are still effective is necessary and is a big part of research. Excellent, excellent. Anyone else have anything they want to throw in? I love these. I love these ideas. Lauren, there's something on the tip of your tongue. You want to get it out. I see it.
I agree with what you just said about how, children, not the same thing will work for every child. My face is getting red because I get nervous. But just moving from South Louisiana to Mississippi, I had to change or, learn how those students reacted, like their home life. I guess I never realized how different that just a few hours away, how they grew up differently than I did, or how they had never really heard of a bayou or anything like that. That I had to really kind of change and hone in on how they were raised and how they learned best and whatnot.
Awesome. No, and that's when we're going to be talking about a couple of concepts called validity and reliability. over the course of the semester, and how reliable a procedure, a concept, a theory is from region to region even matters greatly. I went to school in undergrad in Seattle and grad school in New York. Those places are very, very different than Southern Louisiana. So as I came here, there's a whole new set of practices that I have to consider or think of as I'm going into classrooms. Awesome. Those are all really, really good ideas. There are a couple of key ideas with research that were left out of the discussion. I want to make sure that we're able to touch on those. There's one really, really big one that we kind of danced around in a couple of the comments, but I want to make sure we understand crystal clear. It's not just what works, or I don't want, not what works in the big picture. It's not just the why it works, but it's all of those things together. It's the understanding the specific variables, the specific things that we know to be effective within some procedure. If we look at something like a math curriculum, an entire math curriculum, if I'm doing research on that and I'm going to say that this math curriculum is effective, how do I know what components of it are effective? What makes it effective, right? There's you know, a math curriculum from K to 12 has thousands of problems, thousands of workbook pages. You have hundreds of different teachers teaching it. How do I know, what do I, as the curriculum maker, need to make sure every teacher understands so that we have an effective curriculum? If I'm putting in a classroom management system, how many of you have walked into, well, let's start at the line of thought this way. How many of you have a classroom management system that's effective? You've walked into another classroom and seen a different classroom management system that is also effective. And you can say, well, you do that and that and that and that and that differently, but A, B, and C, I do too, right? A, B, and C are what we call the critical attributes. Those are the things that you have to have an effective system. And research, what research can do is, in a very systematic way, identify A as critical, identify B as critical, identify C as critical. And then it might be able to say, okay, you have to have A and B, but if you have those together, you don't need C. And then all the other things you can change. In my field, in behavior analysis, we talk about systems in terms of topography, what they look like, and function, how they actually work, how they're served, right? Research is really, really good at identifying what is functional, what has to be there, and what is topographical, what can change, what can, you know, if I want to use a classroom management system based on a movie versus a baseball game, right? It doesn't matter. But are the key elements going to be there? Where do I get those key elements? I get those from the research. If I do a research project and I find that A, B, and C have to be there, but it also only works if the device is so big and it's these colors and it's only used at this time of day, then if I'm trying to replicate that in a classroom, I have to have all of those different pieces. And if all those different pieces are not practical, then even though it's research-based, I don't have a meaningful tool. So through, and as I spoke before about this connection between research and applied practice, right? We have to make sure that the product that we get from research is actually usable in a classroom. If I have all this robust, wonderful research on a math curriculum, and I know it to be super effective, and I give it to my teachers and we train all the teachers, and the teachers 2 weeks in are like, we can't do this. First of all, you require 210 minutes of math a day for this to be successful, and we're given 75. You can't implement it with fidelity, and therefore it's not meaningful to you, right? And then when your principal starts to say, okay, so we're going to go from 210 minutes to 75 by cutting this and this and this and this and this and this and this, some of those, I'm sure, were necessary to the success of the program. So you went from having this robust curriculum, but you've cut out all these variables that were critical to its success, and now you don't have the actual product. So then the researchers have to go back and say, okay, what is our result if we cut out fluency practice? What is our result if we cut out these word problems? What is our result if we cut out this whole chapter? And if they start to see degrading effects to a point where it's no longer effective, then they've lost their tool, right? What about effectiveness? How does research establish effectiveness? What does that mean? In education, we are effective if a child learns the skill that we are teaching, right? They didn't know how to add, now they know how to add. They didn't know how to read, now they know how to read. But we're only doing, we're working with our 20 or 30 kids where we've been given the things that we need to use. Identifying success is pretty straightforward in a classroom. What about in research? What does effectiveness or success mean in research?
I think effectiveness in research is going to be mainly the data you get from it.
Okay.
That's what it means. It's going to be effective. You need to be evidence-based. If it's not
Okay.
evidence-based, then it's pretty much the same thing like, why am I doing it? And it ties back to what you said about all these schedules and changes. Like when I was student for a year, we had 5 different schedules. They kept changing it every 3 months. And because they wanted some more evidence of our success, but they kept changing it up so much that we kept losing some other area when they changed the time. So it's hard to even have evidence in our classroom. So there was no effectiveness in our classroom that much because every time they changed it, you lost 20 minutes off of reading just because you want 21 minutes in math. So effectiveness is mainly
when you have all those changes, there's actually something that you lose, and that thing that you lose is what drives research. And there's one word that I'm looking for. Any thoughts?
correlation.
Close.
Causation.
Nope. I was going to say it starts with a C, but those are both good C words that are very research related. There's another one.
A constant?
No. Well, kind of. The word I'm thinking of is control. You lose control. Control in research is what allows you to determine effectiveness. Brittany, what you're describing here is, there was so much change, so we lost control, so we were never able to do anything with any sort of consistency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if you change the number of minutes, and you change the curriculum, and you change the materials, and you change the teacher, and the children do well? That's great, but why did they do well? And next year, when I go to set my schedule, how many minutes? I don't know if that was important. Which teacher do I use? I don't know if that was important. Which curriculum? I don't know if that was important. So the only way to replicate that finding of success is to start one way and then change everything again. because you have this package, you don't have specific variables. So in research, control is what allows us to determine effectiveness. All right. And what I mean by that is how many of you have heard of a placebo? Everyone, right? All right. Placebos are your control in medical research. These 500 people are told take an Advil when you get a headache. These 500 people are told take an Advil when you get a headache, but they're not given an Advil, they're given a placebo, they're given a sugar pill, right? And the researchers say, I want you to, when you get a headache, take Advil, record what time the headache started, record what time the headache stopped. And they do that for both groups. And we see, okay, with the 500 people that got Advil, headaches went away in an average of 15 minutes. And in the group that got the placebo, headaches went away in an hour. And from those two groups, I can say that Advil is more effective than not Advil, than nothing. Doesn't say it's the most effective. It doesn't say it's the least effective. It doesn't say, it doesn't even say it's effective to a meaningful degree. It just says it's effective, more effective than nothing. All right. The same type of thing occurs. Well, let me extend that a little bit further. So now we know Advil is better than nothing. So now we're going to do another study. This group is going to get Advil, and this group is going to get Tylenol. Group that takes Advil, again, 500 people, we see that their headaches go away in an average of 15 minutes. Group that gets Tylenol, their headaches go away in an average of 18 minutes. It's more effective, but is it that much more effective? Is it meaningfully more effective? Is the effectiveness due to something else? So what's the comparison in educational research? Well, Advil and Tylenol are now curricula. Advil and Tylenol are now classroom management systems or school-wide management systems, a PBIS system. They are a sight word intervention. So I have 500 students that are struggling with sight words based on their scores on some assessment. I have 500 other students that are struggling based on that same assessment. Group one is given a Dolch word intervention and told use this procedure. Group two is given some other list of, or some other sight word intervention and said, use this procedure. And we see how do these children do after X weeks of intervention with sight words, and how do these children do? And if our Dolch word students have acquired more sight words or read better on the same measure that they used before, and group two doesn't, then we are able to say that this intervention, intervention one, is more effective. And now there is an evidence base for that intervention. So when we're looking at research through different types of control, we are able to say different types of things. We are able to say these interventions are effective, period. We know that that students improved from pre-test to post-test. And that's all we can say. That's one type of research. Another type of research, which would be able to say through control, we can say that this intervention is more effective than this intervention, and maybe more effective than the next intervention. We might be able to say these types of procedures or interventions are more effective for these types of students. So in all of these areas, through control, we are able to say, how does group 1 do with this type of intervention? How does group 2 do with this type of intervention or some other type of intervention? And if there are meaningful differences, then we start to show an evidence base. There are more types of studies out there, but we're going to be focusing this semester on quantitative studies, studies that can be measured and results analyzed with quantity, with numbers, right? We're not so worried about surveys and observations and ethnographic type research. So we're going to be working with quantitative studies this semester. In quantitative studies, there are two major groups or types of studies. There are group designs, which is something that's where we have the statistical packages, and we talk about 500 people in group 1 and 500 people in group 2. And those studies are actually defined by the type of statistical package that you, or test that you run. And we have single subject designs. Single subject designs are based on differing results of individuals. The two types of studies show very, very different things. They produce very different types of results, but they're based on the same underlying principles, that there is a control, that there is a variable, and we are looking for the significance of the change. Where's it's coming from? Coming from me? Sorry. Is there a significant change between either individual 1 and individual 2, group 1 and group 2, behavior 1 and behavior 2? And can we say with any sort of confidence and with any sort of replication that this result is more or is likely to be seen in the future with either the same type of population or a different type of population? All right. Those are the types of things that we are looking for, and they are all based on this concept of control. So as we wrap up for today, what is it that we are going to be looking for in this class? In this class, we are going to be thinking of what are the types of things that I can identify with control. What are the types of things that are of interest to studying? And our big goal here is to dive into the research and see what does the field of education, of special education, of behavior management, of behavior analysis, of whatever, of curriculum, whatever field of interest we're going to be working in, already have to say about our topic of interest, and where does that lead me in terms of developing an actual research question. So we will be looking at, like I said, diving pretty heavily into the current body of research based on interests of your choosing, reading through, seeing what the fields already say, and from that, we will develop a research question that we can test in some way. That is our goal, to understand what's already there, where that leads us, and how might we begin to test that in a way that would give us information. I'm not going to say a result that we can use, but information that will be additive or beneficial to the field. All right? Cool. A lot to start off with. Yeah? All right. For next week, there is, I'm actually going to hide this one right now. There's a plagiarism module that I want everyone to do. I forget how long it is. It's not too long. That has to do with plagiarism in educational research. I think it is very critical that we have an understanding of what it means, why plagiarism is significant. Thanks, Brittany. It's not so bad, right? Why plagiarism is significant, why we need to be thinking about it, and then, you know, culminating in an honesty statement saying that I will not plagiarize. But that also leads to, you know, yeah, Sheree.
I actually completed it and I got the email, but I wasn't able to download a certificate. So
Okay.
scan, like print the email, sign it, scan it, then upload that.
You can do that. You can take a screenshot, you know, kind of anything and everything. Yeah,
Okay.
format is not super necessary there. So that's
Okay.
fine. I want you, so you do that. There's a little candidate bio for you to fill out. I need to update some due dates in Moodle. And then I'm actually going to add a discussion forum for week 1A that has to do with some research ideas that you may have. So this is not setting anything in stone. This is just kind of for public comment. You know, throw out some ideas, some questions, and I'll put some guiding questions in there. But some ideas and topics that you might be interested in diving into for your own research. All right. There's a little quiz for week 1B. And then by the end of the week already, though, I do want us to try and put some questions into writing. Okay. So there will be more resources coming as the week goes on, but go ahead and get started. Everything is due, even we have a week A and a week B, everything is due by Monday before class. So next Monday, both week A, 1A and 1B activities will be due. And then we'll go from there. Okay. Cool. Schedule wise, there's two things that I want to put on your guys' radar. The 15th and 22nd, so not next week, but the following 2 weeks. I need to move our class probably to Monday. Maybe I can do it Tuesday night. We're doing a training at Max Charter School from 9 to 3. So I'll need to push things back a little bit. So either those classes, let's just do that. Let's just do Tuesday evening, and I'll send out the exact time for that. Okay. So plan on those two classes being later. But other than that, does this time work for? This is a good crowd here. Does this time work for you guys? Yeah, you're here ish. Would a little bit later work better for you teachers? I have a 5 o'clock class, so I can do anything. As long as we start by like 3:30, I can do that. Would that be better for you guys? You guys are here, so you get to choose.
I think we're just missing around that 3 o'clock time. So this actually, I mean, we only have one more week of school left after this anyway.
Okay.
But
let's do 3 o'clock next week, and
really whatever time I think would work.
Okay. All right. Let's do 3 o'clock next week, and let's see how that goes. Okay. All right. Cool. Any questions? All right. Sounds good. Thank you guys for your participation today. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all next week. Have a good one.